Okay, so now we start working on questions of the second nature on the test. And for this, we're going to do numbers 1, 2, 3, and 7. So let's begin with number 1. It says if f of x is the square root of 2x plus 3 over 6x minus 5, then f of a half is. I would use the calculator for this. F of 1/2 equals square root of 2 times a half plus 3 over 6 times a half minus 5. Now, a lot of kids are not comfortable with square roots and with, with fractions. But that's okay. What we're going to do is we are going to go to our graphing calculator, which I have already started to work with. Let me just find it. Here we go. Oh, see, I always miss that by one. All right. So this is nice. It lets me see what I have going on above there. I'm going to quit out of this. Second, quit. And, second, quit. And what I'm going to do is just actually type this stuff in. I'm going to type in the square root is above the square symbol. So second square, which means square root. And I'm going to type in I'm going to type in 2 times a half plus 1. Now, I know 2 times a half is 1, or 2 times a half plus 3. I know that that is equal to 1, but I'm going to do it for your sake. 2 times, whenever we input a fraction, we always do parentheses, 1/2 plus 3. Now, you might then be saying to yourself, oh, I have to stop. You don't need to stop. You can then just move it out of the square root symbol, then hit divided by, and then do everything in parentheses, and I'm going to go 6 times 1/2, parenthesis, and we'll do 1 divided by 2, parenthesis, and then minus 5. And then I'm going to hit enter. And it comes up with -1. So now I go down here, I look at my choices, and choice 3, sitting right there, is -1. So it's choice 3, okay? So what might have looked to you like a very, very difficult question because of all the machinations involved, it's not so bad, especially when you just use your calculator to be able to get it right. This calculator is a very powerful cheat sheet, so don't be afraid to use it. I hate them, but if the state's going to give it to you, then cheat away. What can I tell you? All right, next, the domain of the graph. Well, the first thing I need to do is I need to put the graph on there, which looks like this. Now, the domain is the x value. It's the input value. And if I was to step on, if I took my foot and I stepped on, my nice wrestling shoes there, if I stepped on this particular graph, I would squish it so that this part of the axis would be covered. Over here is not covered, but this part is. What part of the x-axis is covered? What domain values are there? It's everything that is bigger than or equal to, bigger than or equal to 3. So that's choice B, x is greater than or equal to 3. Now there's another way to do this. We know with square roots that there's a problem if I get a negative under that radical. It produces imaginary numbers. So I can just take what's under the radical, namely x minus 3, and write that it has to be greater than or equal to 0, and then solve. And I get x is greater than or equal to 3. Either one of those two techniques, and I strongly suggest you know them both because there's a time and a place for each. This particular problem could use either or. I strongly suggest you know both ways to get to this. Okay. Next up. Which represents a linear relationship. A linear relationship is a relationship where you go up by a constant amount. So all of these are going up by constants, -1 to 3 for the x. So I don't need to consider the x part of this. I just need to see if the y's are going up by a constant amount. Here I go up by 1, here I go up by 3. That's not linear. Here I go up by 2, up by 2, up by 2, up by 2. This looks really good. This goes up by 1/2, up by 1, up by 2. That's not it. This goes up by 1, up by 1, up by 7. That's not it. So choice 3 is the correct answer. In a linear function, you have a constant difference. That is to say that you constantly go up by the same amount. Okay, now we scroll forward to number 7. Typical cell phone plan. Boy, there's one of these on every single Regents exam. Typical cell phone plan has a fixed base fee that includes a certain amount of data and an overage charge for every data beyond that. So the fixed fee is what I want to determine from the repetitive or multiplying fee. It's a fee of $62, a base fee. That means it's a one-time fee of $62. So this can't be it, and this can't be it, because if you notice, the 62 is being multiplied. Then it says $30 per gigabyte. Per is a really good indicator that you're going to use this over and over and over again. But it's per gigabyte that exceeds 2. So you have to be bigger than 2. So the first 2 gigabytes cost you $62. It's only after 2 that you get charged the additional $30 per gigabyte. That's this guy. Because it's gigabytes minus 2. So like if you used 4 gigabytes, it would be 30 times 4 minus 2 is 2, so it would be 30 times 2. If I used 4 here, it would become 30 times negative 2, which doesn't make any sense. So it can't be 3. Choice 4 is the correct value. Okay, this finishes off the video you need for sections 5 and 6.